Welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. And now, more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, Barack Obama, you know the story. We don't need to tell you anymore, but he may be Kenya's most famous export. No doubt his DNA is traced right back to here, and we're proud of it. But my guest today is Kenya's most famous citizen. Full stop. After all, how many Nobel laureates do you know who come from Kenya? But she doesn't wear a Nobel Peace Prize on her sleeve. She's always on the ground, always planting trees, always pushing for a greener world. She did it this past weekend in the Mau forest. And by the way, if you haven't heard it before, a quarter of the Mau is gone, destroyed. More than 100,000 acres are destroyed because of illegal logging, greedy politicians who have put up tea factories right in the middle of the Mau and destroying the entire ecosystem of the area. My guest today is always on the move. She's off to Paris tonight. So it's always a rare privilege when we get to speak to someone who speaks her mind. She is now Nobel laureate, Professor Wangari Maathai. Professor?
Thank you
Good
so
to see
much.
you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
You're one of those rare gems who keeps speaking their minds. And I have to ask you, first of all, on that Wednesday morning when the rest of us were crying and teary-eyed and we heard that announcement that a black man will become the most powerful man on the planet who traces his DNA right here to Kenya, what went through your mind?
Well, I was extremely excited. I was having my own teary eyes. I was at the United States of America Embassy with the Ambassador Regenberger and a lot of other Kenyans who were invited to witness history. And I think that I was excited, I was happy, but I was at the same time being challenged because I know for sure, as we have said many times, here is a wonderful person who started with several candidates of great character, and he emerges the best according to the voters and the democratic system of the United States of America. So really this is the best of all of us. And yet, in a country like this, he would have had a very difficult time convincing voters that he is the best. And for me, if Kenyans don't learn anything from this experience, they should learn that we must move away in this country from the culture of buying votes, the culture of expecting a member of parliament to put money into your hands so that you can vote for them. Because the experience in the US was that people were parting with their valuable dollars, giving it to the campaign managers so that Obama could win. I would wish we could get into that, because when we do that, then Kenyans will start voting for people of character rather than people who persuade them and please them with a few shillings during the elections. We lose so much. We lose wonderful people who could probably propel this country forward because we are still caught up in that culture of buying votes, thinking ethnicity. I won't vote for him. He's not from my community, or he's not supporting the member of my community. All that, I hope that our Kenyans could learn, because if we did learn, we would really move forward and become a better country, because Obama traces his roots in this country.
Professor, the sad thing about Kenya is people are now riding on the wave of this Obama mania. They all think that he's going to save our country, like he's the president of Kenya. And they think things are going to change for us, and they're not. He's not one of us.
It's very important for Kenyans to realize that he's an American. First and foremost, he's the president of the United States of America, and he was given that mandate by the people of America. And so his responsibility is first and foremost to them. But because we live in an interdependent world, and because America is still a superpower, obviously we will deal with them. And we would like to work with them, and we would like to have opportunities with them, because they have such a big market, they have such a big country. So, like the Prime Minister was saying the other day, what we should be looking for is not uh, hands to stretch out. Obama is not going to come to this country with a bag of money and dish out the way Kenyans are used to having politicians dish out. They don't do that in America. What he will do is, and I'm sure he will be very sympathetic with Kenya, is that we can take advantage of the opportunities that his presence provides. For example, there will be a lot of people who will want to come to Kenya and go to Kogelo and go to Kisumu and go to other places where Obama has been. We should take advantage of that. I hope Kisumu will prepare hotels for new visitors. And I hope that this country will sell itself well. If you read his book, there was a very interesting comment yesterday in the newspaper. I think it was The Nation, which mentioned something he had written. Why is it that in this beautiful country of ours, we should have 5-star hotels where waiters are rude?
And they don't serve him.
And they don't serve him because he's black.
Yes.
Now, isn't there something we can learn so that when tourists come here, many tourists will come here to see the country where Obama's father came from? Can't we be better hosts? Can't we be proud of ourselves? Can't he give us a sense of pride so that we serve, that nobody else will write in his book that he entered into these beautiful hotels and he couldn't be served because perhaps the waiters already knew he wouldn't give a big tip.
Yes.
These are some of the things which we would learn. I'm sure there will be people who will come from America. They want to invest in this country. And I'm sure there are people who are looking even in our stock exchange. They want to know what kind of stock exchange do they have in Nairobi? What kind of country is this? What opportunities are there? We ought to be preparing for these opportunities. But we must not, under any circumstances, expect that we will go to America with a bag so that we come back with the money. And our leaders must direct us in that direction. Our leaders must help us to look for those opportunities. Do trade. Bring tourists. Go to America. You'll be respected now even more because of Obama.
Yes.
But I get a bit concerned, a bit embarrassed when I see people always thinking of what is there for me? What can I get? How can I satisfy my immediate hunger? And how can I satisfy my immediate gratification? Usually thinking of gifts, stretching out your hand. Let us all pull back our hands and for once roll up our sleeves and really work hard, because the world is looking at Kenya. And we can take advantage of the fact that a spotlight has been put on us, and we can really benefit from it without ever receiving a penny from the government of the United States of America.
Incredible. Okay, let's switch gears, Professor. And the Waki report, a bone of contention in this country already. Waki did a sterling job. Went out, did his research with his commissioners, came out with this report, put a secret envelope aside, handed it to Kofi Annan, and now the uproar. ODM has already rejected it. PNU has come back and said it has to be implemented. This culture of impunity has to end. Your thoughts, Professor? What went wrong? Why so much ado about nothing, if you will?
Well, first of all, I think it is very important for us to be honest with ourselves and know that we did wrong. We hurt each other. We killed each other. We destroyed properties. And we have a constitution, by the way, that guarantees life and property. And it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that that happens. And to a certain extent, the government failed to do that. Why they did, I'm sure the government can very well explain. I'm not an insider, so I can't tell why the government was unable to keep these fighting Kenyans apart. Some of the stories we hear are reflected in that work report, where some people say the policeman became partisan, so that instead of protecting the people, they allowed the people to be attacked. Did that happen? If it did, then somebody needs to answer. because we want to live in a country where you feel that the police force, the army, the intelligence, all these institutions that we have created so that we can have a stable, safe, secure state where you and I can go around doing our businesses without fear because we are protected. If it didn't work, and it certainly did not work for more than 1,000 people, and that died, and more than 500,000 that were displaced and who lost their livelihoods, they need to be given an answer. Why didn't that institution work? Why didn't the government provide the security that was required? I think it is very important for us to know, even if it is only for us to be able to close the loopholes that may have been there. I think that it is not, we are not arguing about did people die. So if I was a person who was a victim, I would wish my family would want to know how I died. Why did I die? And so I think that those people who died deserve an answer. In our national anthem, Mr. Koinange, and to all Kenyans, we have a national anthem. And one of the clauses in that national anthem is, justice be our shield and defender. I would hope that as I go about my business, justice will be my shield. Not another fellow human being, not a politician, not a policeman, but justice will be my shield and my defender. And I think what Waki and his commissioners were trying to do is to try to see, is there a way in which justice can provide a shield and defense to Kenyans? And is there a way that Kenyans who died and Kenyans who lost their property, who were maimed, who have suffered all these months in camps, is there a way in which they can truly believe in this country, that this country can be a shield, that they can give them justice, that they can be protected as citizens of this country? Having said that, let me say that I did not think, it's not even a matter of thinking, the Justice Waki and his committee have not committed anybody. They have not charged anybody with a crime. As we sit here, we don't know who did what. We don't know whether there is anybody who is a criminal in this country, because our laws tell us that we are innocent until proved guilty. What Waki report is saying is that I think there is something here that happened, and there is not the 30 million Kenyans who need to be asked questions. People have died, property has been destroyed, people have hurt each other. Somebody has done something, but me, Waki, and my commissioners don't know who. But according to what we have done, we have gone around the country, and some names keep coming up. And some people give witness to the fact that they saw this man. They saw Wangari, they saw Koinange, they saw Kamau, they saw Otieno. But I don't know. There is need for further investigation in order to clarify who did what. It is quite possible that the people whose list is in the envelope are innocent. It would be good to know that. Now, if they are innocent, it must mean that there are people still out there who are guilty. And it would be good to know who is that person who is guilty, who is still out there. I think that what we must make sure is that we do not have a kangaroo court. We need to have a court we can believe in. We need to have a respectable tribunal so that we do not, it is not, as I say, a kangaroo court. And I'm quite sure that nobody, since the international community is involved, would endorse a kangaroo court.
Professor, I want to talk more about that because that's very important. And also with the tribunal or the Hague, because the list is out there. And if we don't act locally, the Hague will step in. And I don't think anyone wants to be involved with that part. I also want to talk about the Mao. I know it's very close to your heart. First, we'll take a break. My guest today, Nobel laureate, Professor Wangari Maathai, speaking her mind from Obama to Waki to Mao. We're going to talk about it in this session of Capital Talk because you can't get these kinds of guests anywhere else but on Capital Talk only on K24. So don't go away. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Capital Talk. All this week, it's all about Obama, Waki, other issues affecting our nation. We're not going to drop the ball. We're going to keep pushing the envelope until someone, somewhere out there, does something about it. My guest today, Nobel laureate Professor Wangari Maathai. She's kicking off this week telling us the way things should be as opposed to the way they are. So, Professor, I've noticed a lot of politicians in the last few days, they are kind of advocating for a tribunal, a local tribunal, so that we can take care of issues here at home, rather than wait until February when the hate will kick in, and before you know it, the prosecutor there will probably start publishing the so-called names on the secret list. Do you advocate for a tribunal? Let's deal with it right here and move on, because bottom line, we have to heal this nation, and the sooner the better.
Well, we have to deal with it, and I think that we need to understand that the world has changed. And these institutions, such as the International Criminal Court, they have been created in recent years and decades in order to remove impunity, not only at the national level, but also at the global level. Because we know that there are people, criminal people, bad people, who go around committing crimes, and then they think they can run away. And at the national level, we have our legal system, we have our court systems, and we are supposed to ensure that justice is our shield and our defender, that we are protected. It is therefore very important for our legal system to take care of justice, to give justice to those who deserve it. Now, because the crisis we had in January went beyond our borders, and we even brought in the United Nations, we brought in Kofi Annan, we brought in the African Union, it became an international issue. And because it is an international issue, we will have a tribunal that is not just Kenya. It will have outsiders who want to make sure that Kenyans don't commit crimes, and then they come together, all those criminals, and they say, you know what, since you are there and I am there, let us make a deal. This is not about making a deal. It is about doing the right thing for those who were hurt, and it is going to be done before the eyes of the international community. However, we can do it right here at home, and as long as we do it here at home, it will be all right. But we cannot pretend that we commit crimes at the national level, and because we are sovereign, we can say, I can get away with it because I can speak to the president, I can speak to the Chief Justice, I can speak to Attorney General, I can speak to my fellow minister. That won't happen because a very bad thing happened in January in Kenya, and somebody has to account. If we don't do it here at home, I'm very happy that Waki made sure that the future of the investigation doesn't end here, because I'm sure parliamentarians very quickly can get together and decide, you know what, forget, let us, the saying here in Kenya is always, let us forget and move forward. Well, usually they are forgetting because they haven't been hurt. No member of parliament, no actual leader in this country was hurt by this crisis. It was mostly the ordinary citizens who were being punished for standing with them. And in the moment of need, some of them failed to protect them. And they are still in camps. And when we want to say, forget and let's move forward, are we telling the dead, forget? They can't hear us, but their relatives can. And they are, even from their graves, they are calling for justice. And I know a lot of people want to say, let us not try to investigate, because if we take people to jail, if we mention some important names, then the country might be torn into pieces. Now, which leader had we mentioned in January? Which leader had we killed in January? Which crime had these people committed so that they would have been treated that way? I think the time has come, and it is not only coming to Kenya, it's coming globally, to realize that all leaders will be held accountable for what they do, even at the national level. Because when the citizens do not get justice at the national level, there are mechanisms now in the world. That's why, thank God, we have the United Nations. You can go outside your boundaries and go and seek help from outside. And therefore, if we don't do anything here, we are then handing ourselves over to the International Criminal Court. And again, there, if we are innocent, we don't have to worry. We really don't have to. I don't even know why politicians are worried. Because if you are innocent, you don't have to worry. But if you are guilty, you must be prepared to face the consequences of your actions.
I think they're fearful because they'll be sharing a jail cell with the likes of Charles Taylor and Slobodan Milosevic. So there's cause to be worried.
Well, if they are, you can only be worried, but you must also say, if you committed a crime, all of us know as adults that every action has a consequence. That's why we don't go around every time we are angry. If I am angry with you, I don't go around taking a panga and cutting your neck. And I don't expect anybody else to do that, because there are laws and we are supposed to respect the rule of law. And we did not respect the rule of law, and therefore we must now face the consequences.
Professor, another setback to this country is the environment, and I know it's very close to your heart, especially the Mao. And we were there recently and we saw like a 10,000-acre tea estate right in the middle of the biggest catchment area in the region. We were in the Masai Mara after that, and we could see the levels of the Mara River have really gone low because of what's happening in the valley. A quarter, 100,000 acres plus destroyed. How does that make you feel? What are we doing to ourselves?
You know, the same reason that made us not want to hold a free and fair election, and instead spent a lot of time and energy manipulating the elections and making it difficult for anybody to know who won. The same reason that we went on a rampage and started killing each other, destroying each other's property in a country where we are so poor, is the same reason we want to go into the forest, which is supposed to be a public good, and we want to privatize it because we are greedy and we are selfish. That's the bottom line. Because any intelligent person knows that you get rain because you have forests. Rivers flow because you have forests. That we need those forests as much as we need air. Because without those forests, we are a finished country. So no person, an adult person, and especially a leader, should use those forests as a way to endear themselves to the public. And I wish we would have genuine people who would even go and tell the people who are in the forest, who should never have been allocated land in the forest. Whoever allocated, whether it was the previous administration of President Moi or President Kenyatta, it was wrong. It should never have been done. But at that time, we were not as aware about the need to protect these natural resources as we are now. And therefore, leadership is about telling your people the truth. The leaders in that part of the country, they should tell their people it is important for us to save this forest for ourselves and for our children. The leaders around all the 5 mountains, whether it is the Chelangan Hills, whether it is Mount Elgon, right here in the Aberdeen and Mount Kenya, central politicians, they should not be telling their people that if I am elected, I will let you go into the forest and cultivate. That is irresponsible, because in another 100 years, when there is no forest in the Aberdeen, there will be no Nairobi. These are facts. I'm not creating them. I'm not a fanatic about the environment. Here in this country, I'm dealing with the facts. When it's raining now, and if you look at every river in this country, it is brown or red with our topsoil. This is soil we need to grow our food. This is soil that God has given us to grow food. It's not supposed to be in the rivers. It's not supposed to be drowning people in Ukabani. It is not supposed to go and destroy the marine life in our Indian Ocean, where we have this beautiful coral reef that are being killed by the soil that is being washed, because we are cultivating right close to the forest, to the rivers. Right here in Nairobi, we have some of the most selfish, the greediest of them all. They literally build on the river. The other day you saw us going around with the Honorable Minister Orengo to show him people who are literally building on streams. Somebody called me the other day and said, go to Kibarage today and see how water is now flooding in some of those houses that we are literally built on the river. Why do we do that? Greed and selfishness. That's the bottom line. So what I ask myself is, aren't we people who love our country? And here we are going bananas about Obama. That's a man who loves his country. Why can't we love this country? Why can't we protect this country so that our children will inherit as beautiful a country as we did from our own parents?
Do you ever get frustrated, Professor? Do you ever say, you know what, I'm tired of fighting for these people because they're such ungrateful people? Do you sometimes wake up
Sometimes I get very frustrated, and I get, the older I get, the more I feel bad, because I know I don't have too many years to continue working. But I did not in my lifetime think that after getting the Nobel Peace Prize, I would still be the one going around trying to tell people, don't build around the rivers, don't build across the rivers. Right here at Westrans, they are turning the whole thing into a concrete. They are literally channeling rivers. OK supermarket is literally built on a river, and below it there is a nation complex. It is literally built on a river. Above it, they have just completed this Westgate supermarket. They are, as we speak, they are channeling the river. And we stood there with the Minister Orengo, and he saw people literally scooping to channel the river. Why do people do these things? Greed and selfishness. And why do our ministries allow these things are happening, and yet we have a Ministry of Nairobi, the Metropolitan, the Minister Kilonzo. I hope he's listening, because I would really like him to take up this issue. It's turning Nairobi into a miserable town. If we want to take advantage of Obama, and if tourists are going to come, they don't want to come to a concrete jungle. They have enough of that in the United States. But they want to come and see this beautiful green country with the forest, with the beautiful rivers, with the national parks. That's what we want to sell, not concrete jungles that benefit a few people while the majority of people are left completely poor.
Professor, keep fighting the fight. I tell you, if you give up, then you might as well pack up this country and go somewhere.
Well, I need a lot of you to come and join me. One of these days, we should just go and follow the river, and if you find any house on the river, demolish it.
Congratulations, keep fighting. My guest today, you heard it from the Nobel laureate herself. She's not going to give up fighting the fight because she loves this country. She wishes our leaders would do the same. Take a stand. If anything, do it for this young man who's made us all proud and become the most powerful man on the planet. If we can rejoice about his election, why can't we rejoice about our own country? The professor has said it herself. What a guest. What a show. If you're not watching Capital Talk, you're not watching television. You can only get that right here on K24, where we are all Kenyan.
All the time.
Capital Talk is recorded at the Fairview Hotel, the country hotel in town.